There was no small stir among the family and immediate friends of John Enoch and Maud Elizabeth Groberg when their second son was born to them at Idaho Falls, Bingham County, Idaho. It was the 14th of February, 1906, and Father made the happy announcement that a 10-pound Valentine had arrived at 599 Mound Avenue. Father named me Delbert Valentine Groberg, so I would always remember my birthday.
Folks used to smile when I would answer on the road to Springville when they asked where I was born, but Father's first home was located on a farm just off the highway a block or two. I was the fourth member to be welcomed to the Alcina Elizabeth Brimhall Lafayette Hinckley Holbrook family. Raymond Brimhall, Rachel, and George Blaine were my two older brothers and sister. I was blessed and named Jenny by Uncle Will Knight at our farm home. My earliest recollections are happy ones in the love and security of my wonderful parents and my beloved Aunt Jenny Knight, after whom I was named, and who was always a second mother to me. Also in the companionship of my brothers and sisters.
A friend of my parents, Brother Joseph Morley, once told me that my father was a natural and outstanding leader. He was also an artistic and gifted young man with a good sense of humor. He said of my mother, "Maud was a very sweet, kindly, gentle woman that you loved to be with, talk to, associate with, just feel her presence." Mother was beautiful with brown eyes and auburn brown hair. On April 30th, 1908, when I was just past 2 years old, my little sister Maud Elizabeth was born. Mother died just after Maud Elizabeth was born. My big brother Leroy was just 2 years and 8 months older than I, and I expect our many needs as a little nest of almost helpless babies was an overwhelming challenge to a father now alone. Folks told me when Father died a year later, he died of a broken heart. June 6, 1909. I remember when Father died. Grandpa Groberg lifted me and Leroy up to his bed, and Father kissed us and said, "Be good, boys." Then he closed his eyes. I recall those words as plainly as if they were spoken today. They are the only words I remember hearing my father speak. A large circle of loved ones and close friends of our parents and grandparents became our extended family. One recollection I have is how beautiful I thought Aunt Mattie was and how handsome I regarded Uncle Charlie. As I pondered the whole situation with my heart and my uncluttered mind, I often felt so close to heaven and my parents that I could visit with them. By climbing up a small apple tree, I could reach up and nearly touch them. I had my parents just as other children, only mine were up there watching over me. Some children would get quite a ways away from their parents, but I was always very close to mine. I was always taught that my parents knew my thoughts, my words and deeds, and expected me to help in every way I could to bring joy and comfort to those about me. When I did, it made them and me happy. When I didn't, it made us sad. By the time I was 6 years old, I had become so convinced that heavenly messengers visited with people here on earth, and that our guardian angels were our own loved ones, that the account of the first vision and the visit of the angel Moroni to the prophet Joseph Smith were easy to accept. Grandma Groberg would read the Book of Mormon to me and tell me about the prophet Joseph before school. She showed me albums of pictures and told me someday I would go on a mission like my father.
At the age of 8, I was baptized, July 28, 1916. Mother was unable to go with me, and Father was out of town, so I took my towel and clothing and went alone, so frightened that I still remember how it hurt. After being baptized, it was a great relief to have my father arrive to take me home. As I recall, I was confirmed by him at that time, before leaving for home.
In all, the Holbrook family grew to 11 children, 9 girls and 2 boys.
Mother was ideal in her calling. Her complete devotion to her family and to her church was all one matter, inseparable. Mother used to encourage all of us to do creative things, once telling me that if I ever had a lovely thought to express, to stop whatever I was doing and go write it down. I found that unless I did this, the inspiration often left me and was never as helpful when I waited to write things down. Mother used to let us forego certain tasks if we preferred practicing the piano. I used to get up at 5 a.m. and go over to the Fifth Ward and practice the pipe organ before school. Often it was very cold, but I learned enough to do the playing for the ward and have been organist in various capacities in the church ever since.
I used to get up about 6, milk the cows, change clothes, wash, have breakfast, and walk 1 mile to catch the interurban at 8:05 to Ogden High. After part of my junior year, I quit school and just worked on the farm and helped with Aunt Mattie and Uncle Charlie's children. Grandma told me how Father would expect me to go to school, and I went back the fall of 1924 and graduated in June of 1925. I studied the scriptures and looked forward to a mission. I received a call from President Grant to the Eastern States Mission. I was set apart for my mission by Elder Melvin J. Ballard and departed for my mission on June 16, 1925. I spent the first 2 months in Massachusetts and New Hampshire doing country tracting. Then I spent 6 months in the mission office. Then I was made president of the West Virginia South District, where I spent a happy 18 months.
I loved the BYU with all my heart. It was my life, past, present, and future. I used to be very shy and determined to overcome this handicap. I accepted every opportunity to give talks or play the piano, but sometimes doing so would make me so ill I would nearly faint. But I've overcome most of my shyness. I took part in public speaking and dramatics, having the lead in 2 full-length plays at the Y.
I worked at CW&M, the biggest store in town. They sold everything from toothpicks to pocket knives to plows, wagons, threshing machines. I was paid $125 per month, and they offered me $150 per month if I'd stay on, but I said, "No way. I'm going to BYU and find me a wife." I met Jennie my first day at BYU. I've often said, I went to the Y to find a good wife, and I married the first girl I met. I could truthfully add that I could not have done better if I had looked all over the world.
Delbert had returned from a mission to the Eastern States and was at the Y registering when I first met him. It was quite a while before he asked me for a date, in spite of my many attempts to let him know I was interested. But I was having many opportunities for dates at that time, and it rather discouraged him. I recall our first date. It was to the Banyan dance. I had a date with Gene Paulson, the editor of the Y News. I had been invited by 8 other young men to go to the dance. The one I really wanted to go with was Delbert, but he had not asked me. And then I received word that Gene was ill and could not go. I was really happy when, after making myself very available, Delbert asked me if I was going, and added that he assumed I would have had another date long before. I told him I really had, but I was free and would be happy to go with him. We went to church on the next Sunday and to a matinee dance with him the next Wednesday. I remember the dance because I had my program filled 14 dances ahead. I guess the fact that I was so happy with Delbert made me rather attractive to others. It was after the church date and a walk the long way home that I woke my young sisters, with whom I shared my bedroom, and told them that the young man I had gone with that evening was the one I was going to marry, but for them to say nothing about it to anyone yet. They sleepily agreed not to mention it, and thought me a bit queer to wake them up and tell them such a dream.
In 1929, Jennie Holbrook graduated as valedictorian of Brigham Young University. Delbert still had more schooling to finish to prepare him for his career.
I was offered a choice of 2 or 3 positions on the Y faculty upon graduation, running the Teacher Placement Bureau, teaching shorthand, etc. I chose to go to Ammon, Idaho to teach because of a certain young man in whom I was seriously and constantly thinking of, and who wanted to make a home in Idaho Falls, at least for a while.
For the next year, while Jennie was teaching in Idaho and Delbert was at school in Utah, they maintained faithful and frequent correspondence. Thankfully, these courtship letters were saved and provide unique insights into their personalities, showing us how they dealt with the ups, downs, ins, and outs that helped them shape their matchless and lasting relationship.
My dearest Jennie, Provo is very beautiful. There is a full harvest moon and a cool autumn breeze that knows both Timp and Utah Lake. If you were here, everything would be just perfect. I think you are very necessary in order for perfection to exist.
Dear Delbert, I am always glad when a letter from you verifies my hope that you occasionally think of, somebody. Today, when I was rather irritable and cross, that's a confession, I just tried hard not to be because I knew you wouldn't like me that way.
My dear Miss Genuine, I have just been for a walk, alone. No, not alone, for he is never alone who is accompanied by noble thoughts, and I have been thinking of you.
My handsome, wholesome, health-capable, tolerant, fearless, reasonable, thoughtful, sincere, adorable, and versatile pal. The day is done, and a few tasks with it. Now the pleasure with which this seclusion offers, such as writing letters to the above-described personage, beckons to a wondering schoolteacher. Sometimes I feel so happily certain of the rightness of things as they are, but sometimes I feel discouraged and lonesome. I am finding Jennie. I haven't known her too well before. She is full of faults, but she has a wonderful heritage and background and possibilities. She's got to make good. She wasn't blessed as she has been for herself, but for those to whom she is to give. What do you think of this? I dreamed and thought that life was beauty. I woke and found that life was duty. But the beauty is equally as vital as the duty, and the dreams as the daily existence, don't you think? The beauty and dreams are what most people need more of. You see, I have philosophies too.
It is kind of late in the night, dear heart, but my thoughts are turned to you. I'm not able to do as much as I want to do for you, Jennie dear. I hope I can always work. I know I will always love. And I don't see why all kinds of helps won't arise for both of us. Your letter just brought your unselfish, true self even more clearly into the dream I have, the real dream of realities, and I am happier.
Good morning, Sir Gallant. Every morning your smile sitting on the dresser starts the day out right for me. And if I do occasionally feel blue, it seems as if you are laughing at me. Sometimes I almost feel angry at that continual smile, but always it cheers me. I'm so glad I have it. Are you going to peddle insurance this weekend? Say, do you ever insure folks against lonesomeness? Honest, here's my order for a $1,400 policy.
Dear Jennie, the sun is just setting. Almost endless shadows proceed from the myriads of objects round about. Did you ever wonder where all the shadows go after the sun goes down? I'm going to watch tonight and see. Then if you, perchance, have wondered, well, I'll be able to tell you. They just keep getting larger until presto, they run completely out of room. Good night.
Dear Delbert, today is frightfully lonesome. This experience is teaching me, among other things, that there is only one Delbert, and I don't think it is right at all for him to be so far away. He belongs partly to me, and I ought to be able to have him when I need him.
Dearest Jennie, to you and to all, I wish a very happy Christmas. And while wishing, oh, why are there so many miles between you and me?
Dear heart, good morning to you. If you were here, I would forget bashfulness and ignore your objections and throw my arms around you and give you a kiss.
Dear Jenny, I came home from the dance so I could visit with you. The old moon comes into the room through an open window and brings you nearer. Are you sending messages of love to me by the moon?
Dear Delbert, I'd give the world for a visit with you. Somebody who understands truly and is so interested. You are, aren't you? But it's a great life, and the challenges it offers spur us on, and we are glad for them, aren't we? Especially when we have some real pals. I still think you are ideal and wonderful, and thoughts of what you really are make Jenny know that she must try harder. Love to my dream man, Jenny. P.S. Tonight I would have you less a dream man and more present.
Hope that the wondrous manifestations of the expounding beauties of life that accompanies spring into our world of nature will work hand in hand with us in unfolding and materializing our very noblest heart's desires. We need not fear that they are unworthy of our best effort. Good night, Jenny. Yours, Delbert.
My dear, when occasionally I get a glimpse of your soul, I am made happy with the thought that if you realize your possibilities, if you attain the state of achievement and success within your power, someday the whole world will rejoice that you live. I believe in you sincerely, dear, and I think you have a mission here that will carry you farther than most of us. Yours, Jenny.
Delbert and Jennie were married in the Salt Lake Temple, June 11, 1930. President Joseph Fielding Smith performed the ceremony.
Our reception in the new Provo First Ward building was special. We had speakers during dancing intermission. Grandpa Brimhall said, "Remember these 4 C's when you sail on the sea of matrimony: constant counsel, constant courtship, constant confidence, constant compromise."
We had a hectic honeymoon in southern Utah parks, Bryce, Grand, and Zion Canyons. For 2 days and nights we stayed at Bryce Canyon Lodge, eating crackers and cheese because we felt we could afford no more, and then found out too late the $12 per day we paid included 3 luscious meals per day we had missed. At first we were disappointed and hungry, then we laughed hilariously.
We were a happy family indeed. Delbert is a very natural spiritual leader and beloved by all. He has been bishop and counselor and high council member and held many other positions in the ward and stake and in the community. He is very kind to others and anxious and very able to help those in need.
In all, the D.V. Groberg family grew to 11 children, 7 boys and 4 girls: Mary Jane, Julia Gay, John H., David H., Richard H., Delbert H., Joseph H., Elizabeth, Louis H., Gloria Jean, and George H. When Richard was born, proud Papa Delbert decided their growing crew needed an official family song, so he put their names to the folk tune Little Brown Jug. Fortunately, the tune easily accommodated additional lyrics, which were added with the birth of each succeeding child. The Groberg family song continues to charm generations of Grobergs to this day. Liz Owens will now lead us in the Groberg family song. Delbert founded the D.V. Groberg Company in 1929. When asked why he didn't finish college first, he said, "I needed to start a business so college graduates would have a place to work." The company, which started out as an insurance company, quickly grew into a real estate company. In fact, much of present-day Idaho Falls can be traced to the D.V. Groberg Company. Together with his sons, Delbert built many homes, stores, offices, and over 200 residential condominiums. Many streets are named after family: Delbert Drive, Holbrook Drive. Later, Delbert added appraising to his resume and quickly rose to the top of the field. He appraised huge tracts of land in Idaho and surrounding areas for the government. Not only did he help Idaho Falls and surrounding areas grow, but he was heavily involved in growing other businesses as well. He was the president of the Idaho Falls Chamber of Commerce, helped found a radio station, a TV station, and a bank. Not bad for someone who never finished college, but then again, neither did Bill Gates.
I was nominated by the Idaho Falls Board of Realtors to be the Realtor of the Year in 1961. This was a real thrill to know that my associates had designated me for this honor. But the real thrill came in connection with the convention that fall in the state of Idaho when the Idaho Realtors Association designated Delbert V. Groberg as Idaho Realtor of the Year.
While Delbert was busy with his growing business, Jennie was even busier with the demands of their growing family. In addition to being a wonderful mother, she found time to serve and teach in all major auxiliaries of the church. She was a wonderful teacher, and her lessons were a source of great inspiration and strength to all who had the privilege of being in her class. Delbert and Jennie were privileged to have all 7 of their sons and 1 daughter serve full-time missions, and were able to meet many of them at the end of their missions.
Mary Jane completed a mission to the British Isles. I went to Europe to meet her, and we toured about a month. When John finished a mission in the Tongan Isles, Delbert met him in New Zealand, and they visited Brunt relatives there in New Zealand, also Australia, Fiji, Samoa, Hawaii, etc. David went to the Southern States Mission, and Richard served a mission in Finland. We believe we have some very choice children.
A highlight for the family was when Delbert was ordained as patriarch by Elder Mark E. Peterson on September 11, 1955. He eventually gave over 1,130 blessings. Jennie typed many of them on her trusty typewriter. Delbert and Jennie always accepted whatever callings were given them. So when the call came from the prophet to serve as the Idaho Falls Temple president and matron, though overwhelmed, they humbly accepted.
Delbert and I are overwhelmed but joyful and confident in our new calling as president and matron of the Idaho Falls Temple. We were called by President Spencer W. Kimball on September 16, 1975. President Kimball set Dad apart, and President Romney set me apart as matron on October 25, 1975, pouring blessings and admonishings on us of how important this work is and how it must go forward. It was such a humbling and marvelous experience. President Kimball, President Romney, and President Haycock visited our home, and all of our family shook hands and visited briefly with them. President Kimball then sat down at the piano and accompanied our family as we all sang together, "I Am a Child of God." It was never to be forgotten moment for our family.
Over the years, Jennie spent many hours at her typewriter, writing birthday cards to children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. People used to marvel at how she was able to keep up and remember so many names and dates, but she did. Rarely, if ever, did she forget a single birthday. She also typed many big family books and histories of loved ones. In 1985, Delbert published the book, The Idaho Falls Temple, the first temple in Idaho.
It begins with the story of the growth of the church in the upper Snake River Valley and ends with accounts of temple events up to December 1984. The central message of this book is the dedicatory prayer given by President George Albert Smith. I hope that this record will help to preserve many precious experiences and promises and give us the inspiration to carry on with this important work. Some have asked, how much does it cost you to have and raise a family the size of yours? Our quick answer from the heart is, only a very small fraction of what they are worth. We were married in the Salt Lake Temple by President Joseph Fielding Smith on June 11, 1930. 47 years later, President Smith asked me, with a twinkle in his eye, if I had ever forgiven him for marrying us, and I said, "President Smith, with her, everything. Without her, nothing. Children, grandchildren, joy and rejoicing, love and service."